Good day, awesome YouTubers. It is LollyMan16 here again for another Dragon Ball discussions video. This one is going to be a little bit different today. Today I'm going to talk about a thing that a lot of people in the Dragon Ball community don't really talk about that much. I've seen a couple of guys, a couple of the big Dragon Ball YouTubers, awesome guys. They've already talked about this, but I want to give my 2 cents and kind of my thoughts on this thing that's going on. I've recently noticed in Dragon Ball Super, there are a lot of things that go back to not only Dragon Ball Z, but the original series, Dragon Ball. The original series, of course, being that in Japanese, came out in 1986. That's the one I'm talking about. And that's the series that not a lot of people really watch or review, but I wanted to give my thoughts on how the story really progresses. And one of those things we will look at today is their training sequences. I've noticed that a lot of the training sequences, ironically, in Super are the same at least that's what they were in Dragon Ball. What I mean by this is Muten Roshi's training versus Whis' training in Super episodes 16 and so on and so forth, all the way up to episode 20 in the Resurrection F arc, and of course with Muten Roshi starting from episode, I believe, 14 or 11, somewhere in between. It's when Goku and Kuririn go to train with Muten Roshi for the first time. And what they do here is, of course, as you can see on the screen, they're carrying milk. I just got done reading that portion of the manga, and quite strikingly, it seems like the training sequences just come all the way back to their roots. Muten Roshi had Son Goku and Kuririn carry milk cartons and do other kinds of physical activity and physical labor. And he had them do this for several months so that their body basically overcomes the human limitation and pushes their bodies to superhuman levels. Now, what do we see in episode 16 of Dragon Ball Super? Son Goku and Vegeta kind of do the same thing, although this time it's a little bit different because they're using, of course, much heavier weights. Even in the Buu saga, Goku was, carrying around 40 tons in base on, actually, it was, I believe it was 10 tons on each limb. So, yeah, 40 tons in base in the Buu saga. But, of course, here in the Resurrection F arc, it's much higher. Of course, Whis does not give him a specific weight, so we don't know how heavy it actually is. But we can assume it's at least heavier than 40 tons. Now, Goku and Vegeta were forced to carry this weight all across their planet. Whis told them, of course, to do several laps with this. And all the while, he was basically making the ground beneath them disappear. So basically, it's training their strength. And it's not really learning any new techniques. It's just focusing their strength on their base forms rather than their Super Saiyan forms. That's kind of what we had in Dragon Ball with Muten Roshi. It's not really about the technique. The fundamentals of martial arts or Budokan, at least of the Kame Senryu school, with that Muten Roshi taught Son Goku and Krillin, basically was to increase your strength, kicking, etc., etc. Basically, your physical abilities beyond superhuman, so that you don't really need any other techniques. All you have to do is use the basics, what you have already, amplify that by many times over by your now increased strength. And of course, we later on learn that Goku is a Saiyajin, so that comes into play with physical strength later. But even Kuririn, who's a Ningen or a human, even he was able to surpass his human limits. Now we're moving on to the next portion of this discussion here. As we see Muten Roshi telling Goku and Kuririn to push a large rock after all their training, and of course wearing turtle shells on their back for extra weight. He tells them basically to move giant rocks, and basically having to overcome the limitations of a human to become stronger. Again, this is what we see in the Resurrection F arc. It's just the same thing applies just many years later. I kind of find it funny that Toriyama would basically write the same training sequences even though Goku is about more than 30 years older. And this is, of course, in the Resurrection F/Universe 6 arc of Dragon Ball Super. I find it funny that it's basically the same kind of training sequence. The last thing I want to talk about here is control. Goku and Krillin basically with Muten Roshin's training would how to control their, how to raise their energy levels, how to control it, etc., all the while wearing heavy shells on their backs. Hence the name Kame Sennin, or the Turtle Hermit, because that's what Muten Roshi wears on his back too, a giant shell, which if taken off allows him to run and stuff much quicker. Of course, we later learn on that Goku uses weighty training clothes, and so does Piccolo, but that comes later into the fray. The same thing applies with Whis' training. When Goku and Vegeta train in the mystical fog, Whis tells him, or actually Whis doesn't really tell them. It's Vegeta who learns out that he learns basically how to control his ki to a level so that they can actually move within the dimension that they're in. Any ki leakage would lead to complete paralysis, so he has learned to control his energy that way, and of course to reserve his strength in base form. Again, this is what we see with Muten Roshi. So again, the training sequences are very similar. I find it funny that they're on godly levels now, but they're still having the same concepts in terms of training. But that's all for this video, guys. I just wanted to make that quick kind of discussion here, telling you guys what I've thought about the training sequences that are so similar. And of course, I don't know exactly if Toriyama was involved with those training sequences with Whis, but we do know he is involved with the training sequences with Muten Roshi. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys down the road. Stay awesome, everybody, and have a good one.